everybody little tapping with the pot with Tigmatic.
Y'all tune into the Pop Podcast. And guess what? There's an episode of me on it.
You are tuned into the Pot Podcast.
And with the Pop Podcast with my boy Tigmatic. You hear me? It's going down.
To follow the Pot Podcast with Tigmatic.
That's that number one.
That's that number one.
Catching a wave, sun shining all on our faces. We done been all type of places. Travel the world, we look down on the world. Clouds in the sky, I make you feel so alive, yeah. Baby, no worries, no cries, yeah. I put you onto the vibe, yeah. It's no better feeling than you being next to me. Leaving footsteps in the sand on the beach. Ocean view with the world in your reach. Float away like a boat on the sea. What you want, happiness is the key. Wind blowing got you feeling like you're free. Come with me and I can put your mind at ease. Come with me and I can make you feel at peace. Ayy. Ooh-wee, baby, let's go vibe in the sunshine. I say, ooh-wee, baby, let's go vibe in the sunshine. Flow like the wind and the breeze. Come and get closer to me, babe. Ooh-wee, baby, let's go vibe in the sunshine. Yeah. Girl, I come in like the tide. Surfing the waves and we ride, yeah. You have the time of your life, yeah. Watching the sun as it rises, yeah. You're mesmerized. Love how our spirits align, yeah. You make me feel so sublime, yeah. You got the glow, girl, you shine, yeah. Listen to the sound of water crashing on the shore. This is what it's like with a man that's mature. I can give you feelings that I know you never felt. Sitting in the sun and your heart start to melt. It's a vibration when your hand touch mine. Girl, you're so vibrant and I love how you shine. Just enjoy the moment cause it feels so divine. This the kind of vibe that everybody wants to find. Hey. Ooh-wee, baby, let's go vibe in the sunshine. I say, ooh-wee, baby, let's go vibe in the sunshine. Yeah. Flow like the wind and the breeze. Come and get closer to me, babe. Ooh-wee, baby, let's go vibe in the sunshine. Yeah. Ooh-wee, baby, let's go vibe in the sunshine. I say, ooh-wee, baby, let's go vibe in the sunshine. Yeah. Flow like the wind and the breeze. Come and get closer to me, babe. Ooh-wee, baby, let's go vibe in the sunshine. Yeah.
Yo, let me tell you this. I deep ball, I run the place, and if you want step to this, a gunshot in your face, money, money, we are make that money, 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 we are make that money, 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 we are make that money, 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 we are make that money, 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 money.
Pull up 4 10 to the flow, ho. Don't get it, can't have it in my home. Respect has been the motto, stronger than this rap. No comfort, no blue winners. We play the game, lose cause so yourself to blame. Make life make sense, new basketball. Need a full court pressure, I've seen fall. Stay down for my team like Kobe. Stop playing with me, devotee. Magic in every position, like Johnson cooking a vision. Stay playmaking, never had to fake it and negotiating, but for complication. Try, guarantee 3 up. Even when it's strong, we can't be us. Now you wanna be a queen, man, but you can't handle heat. It's skill to be missed, morale we built to kill in the game's betrayal. You ain't believe in Jesus, but you wanna beg and plead. Now I got them all, they need to get to the salary, I don't
Money, money, we are make that money, 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 we are make that money, 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 we are make that money, 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 we are make that money, 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 money.
Get that money, money, make them act with me. Chasing clout is funny, so they hate, but that's so chummy. Jesus knows my heart, so I can't get even. He knows my head's a darts. You hold 13 reasons, stalling curtain calls. Time for my new season. Waste my time before someone help me handle feelings. Try to steal my chips and I'm still intact. I made you, baby, and I can take it back. You was made a fool, I wasn't built like that. Don't innate the weakness, keep it stack. You stay thinking small, so I had to grab the ball. What's in my vocabulary? You told me no how it's called. Can't put the price on tag. We just too immune to bag. But I live in truth. I let the world look to me for proof.
Money, money, we are make that money, 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 we are make that money, 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 we are make that money, 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 we are make that money, 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 money. Me I work hard for the money, my focus, money. Don't play with my money. My money come in a bundle, in a bundle, in a bundle. My money it come in a bundle, in a bundle, in a bundle. My money it come in a bundle.
Yo, what's up, y'all? You are now tuned into another episode of the Podcast with Tig. Are here today, and I hope y'all feeling good. And listen, I have a guest for y'all. She's here. She's an icon. Like, this ain't one of those regular episodes as usual. Y'all know I have some big guests from time to time, but this is royalty here. And I want y'all to know that, you know? All right. She's a 5-time Emmy Award winner, a 10-time Parents' Choice Award winner, a community leader, a media mogul, a lyrical pioneer, and the bridge between hip-hop, activism, and culture. She's walked through the fire in radio, stood tall on TV, and still found time to fight for the people in the streets. Daughter of legends Amiri Baraka and Diane DiPrima, and a living legend in her own right, y'all. So, without further ado, I want you guys to welcome my guest, Dominique DiPrima. You there?
I'm here.
All right.
Buttons. Thank you.
All right.
The
You're trying to get the camera on. There she is. Welcome. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, man, it's an honor. It's an honor. All right. So let me get the solo cam on you before we get into the interview. How you feeling today before we get into all that?
Oh, I'm feeling good. Apparently, it's a day about radio and podcasting. I just came from the Poetess studio on Crenshaw, where we had a gathering of every major urban radio station in the city to talk to the kids, and Sway was there. It was really nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so you have the floor. I usually let my guests give themselves a formal introduction. That's why the solo dolo cam is on you. So okay. You have the floor, Queen. Do your thing.
Well, I think you did a really good introduction of me. I kind of, always feel like I sound better on paper. But what I will add is that I'm currently doing morning drive in Los Angeles. I'm on 6 to 9 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580, which is a Black-owned talk radio station. It's actually owned by journalist Tavis Smiley.
Hey.
And I, after 17 years of working for Stevie Wonder on KJLH, his music station, the other Black-owned station in town, I decided to go with Tavis to start this new concept, partly because there's not enough Black talk, and partly because I had the opportunity to be the first Black woman to host a solo commercial talk radio show in Los Angeles. I couldn't resist the opportunity to make history. So that's what I'm doing now. And you can actually watch me. I'm on YouTube weekday morning, 6 to 9. We stream it at KBLA 1580.
Hey, that's awesome. That is awesome. And although you spoke about working with Stevie Wonder's station,
yes,
this is a legend, by the way. What was that like?
It was amazing. You know this because you're a broadcaster, that in this business we meet a lot of celebrities, dignitaries, lawmakers, and Stevie Wonder is one who really lives up to his image. He's not a fake celebrity. He really cares about people. He cares about the world. He's dedicated. The only thing I wasn't ready for is that he's quite a jokester. But he really is that guy. He really is an activist, a community passionate person. At first, I was very intimidated because he was one of my heroes growing up. But after a while, after several years, it was just a joy to work with him.
Oh, that's awesome. You also was a host on the Steve Harvey radio morning show, right?
Yeah, when Steve Harvey first came into radio, at that time he was just leaving the show, Steve Harvey on the WB, where he played, I think, a teacher or something with.
Yeah, the Steve Harvey show.
Yeah. He was just coming off of that show, and I was working at that time for Radio 1 on the beat here in Los Angeles. And so they decided to give Steve a try as a morning host. You know, he had never done radio. So they put me on that show doing news, and I ended up being one of the co-hosts along with Shirley Strawberry and Nautica de la Cruz. I did that for 3.5 years in Los Angeles and in limited syndication. And when they went into wider syndication, the outside producer that they brought in felt that I was a little too political. But it was a great experience working with Mr. Harvey and the team. And yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of exposure, and it was fun to be part of teaching Steve radio. You know, obviously he's a brilliant comedian and he's an actor, but he had never done radio, an author, and whatever else he is. But
Right.
me and Shirley and Nautica really had the job of teaching him radio. And he remembered that when he got his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He actually invited me to come and thanked us, me and Nautica and Shirley, for teaching him how to do radio.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's definitely awesome. It's good to always remember those who helped you along the way. And listen, I thank you for being here today. You're a 5-time Emmy Award winner. This is the first on the podcast.
Okay.
So I want to say thank you for taking the time to do this. I'm a little excited right now, so you got to excuse me.
Oh, no, I appreciate the love. Yeah, I did win 5 Emmys, but it's been a minute. I wouldn't mind getting 5 more.
I hear that. All right, so let's get into it. All right. So, growing up the daughter of 2 legendary poets, right? How did that shape your sense of self and emotional development?
But yeah, I forgot we on this mental health.
Yeah, we're going to go there. We're going to talk about everything else, too. I'm going to mix it up. But I wanted to start with some, your parents are legendary, too. So,
No, it wasn't a critique. I was just reminding myself that that's what you do. Well, look, when you deal with iconic people, particularly artists, both my parents are both artists and activists, there's good and bad that comes with it. Or
right.
Shall I say there's opportunity and challenge that comes with it, because I don't really want to label things bad.
Right.
For me, the opportunity was I grew up surrounded by art and activism. I heard more poetry by the time I was 10 than most people will hear in their whole lives. I was raised at rallies and picket lines and assembling books and organizing shows, plays, and fundraisers, always for a cause. My mom, my dad, always volunteering and using their poetry, their writing, their plays to raise money, raise awareness, raise spirits at rallies. So all of that was very empowering, affirming. My mom taught us that you can solve any question or any problem using your imagination. My dad taught us that all art is political. So be mindful of what you're saying, be intentional about it, don't be pimped, And so from that perspective, it's really an advantage. So even though, and it's funny, I was just talking about this earlier today, their names, and they're both poet laureates. Both of them have published 50 plus books,
yes.
But neither one of them had any money. So lifestyles of the poor and famous, which is, people think that you have a silver spoon because they know the names of your parents. But the reality is poet is not a high paid job.
That's right.
So there was that. I think the other challenge, one of the other challenges for me was that I always felt like I had to live up to their high standard of what their work was in the world. Like when I was younger, I used to be afraid to write anything or say anything or produce anything because I felt that I would be compared with my father, Amiri Baraka, or my mother, Diane DiPrima, and they're both masters of their crafts. And they're both the type of artists that believe you work on your craft. You write every single day if you're a writer. You sing every day if you're a singer. And so I never felt like I would be able to match their level of excellence or the requirement of hard work, even though I work pretty darn hard. But
Yeah.
I think part of what freed me from that was hip hop, because when I went into the hip hop world, people weren't that concerned about my mother and father. It's kind of like I found my own arena to play in, and I was able to create my own little legacy.
That's awesome. So you were a rapper as well. Why don't you tell the people what your rap name was?
Well, I went by Lady D, or my real name, Dominique. But that was a long time ago. I started rapping when I was like 13, and I rapped through my television show. But when I retired from Home Turf, which was my TV show, I retired from rapping. Actually, I mostly retired while I was on the show. At that point, I was only doing it for the show. Yeah, I like to write. I always have a message to say. And when I went to New York, my mom was there doing some performances at the New Eurekan Poets Cafe in the Lower East Side of New York. And they were rapping and breakdancing. Back then they were calling it burning. And I just thought it was the most amazing thing ever. And, you know, being a little kid, I just jumped on the mic and thought I had it going on. So, and I got a good reception, so I kept it going. And because back then there were hardly any women, and then when I came to the West Coast rap was very young. Yeah. I used to win contests and stuff.
Really?
I got trophies and money and stuff like that. In fact, that's how I got my first television show. So rap was very, very good to me.
Oh, that's what's up. That's definitely a good thing, you know. Your talent's paid off.
So
that's always a good thing. So let me ask you, what was it like, you know, like you was on both coasts. Yeah. I'm from Philadelphia originally, right? And coming over to Cali was kind of like a culture shock for me, especially being where I'm from. So what was it like for you, you know, coming to NYC and then Cali? What was that like for you?
Well, we moved to California when I was very little. So I'm definitely a California girl. Okay. I would go and see my dad. I would stay in Newark, or I would be in New York trying to, like after I graduated from high school, I just knew I was going to be a superstar. So I went there. So I did spend time in both, but I definitely have a Cali kind of lifestyle. And for me, it was, you know, my mom is definitely a New Yorker. So it was always hustle, 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 hustle hard, hustle fast. And so I always felt that the New York or the East Coast life was more supercharged, more caffeinated. And it was more of a hard knock life.
Right.
I like no winter. I like my beaches. I like my sunshine. And when I would go back to Newark, they would make fun of me, you know, how I talk and how I dress, because they think it's soft and spacey. You know, even my brothers and sisters would be like, oh, that's hella this, that's hella that. Just making fun. So I have appreciation for the East Coast. I think, you know, it's gritty. It's tough. You know, it's tough. To being poor in New York or on the East Coast is no joke.
That's a fact.
Being poor in Cali, you know, you might be able to get oranges out of somebody's yard or something. Like it's a little bit more friendly here. And I love both coasts, but I'm definitely a California kid. West Side for life.
Yeah. You know, I haven't been to the West Coast. That was my first time to the West Coast since I was 14 years old.
Oh, wow.
And I'm 43 now.
Okay.
So my birthday was a few days after the trip.
Okay, happy birthday.
Thanks. So when I got there, for me, it was a complete culture shock because, you know, the media always gives this persona of LA as the most roughest, toughest place in the world. And it's a lot going on and people getting killed left and right, you know. And I have a friend who's an executive out there in Sony. And he was telling me, yo, don't believe what the TV tell you. You ain't got to worry about wearing different colors. Just come over there, do you, have fun. And he was right.
Yeah, I mean, don't be fooled. There are
it's dangerous in places.
Yeah, there's definitely some places where you can get murdered if you want. I remember my dad used to say, where is LA? There is no LA here. Or he would say, those are not projects. Projects don't have palm trees. And I understood the sentiment, but I also know that you could definitely get shot in those projects with or without the palm trees. So there's a side of it that's don't let the smooth taste fool you. But that's really like any other community. It's going to be in the most resource deprived, right, areas. It's going to be in those areas where there's food deserts and folks are hungry and lacking opportunities. And for sure, all of those hood movies and hood TV shows have people with a misconception about some of that stuff is, just outdated, right? And maybe it was like that in the 90s, but 30 years ago. And the other thing is that we don't get credit for that LA, because of the gang peace movement, the urban peace movement, which is driven by a lot of former gang members, community advocates from nonprofit organizations, and lawmakers. We have homicide levels in the city that are down around the 1950s. It's very low. The body bags are few, and it's because of programs that have been put in place. It's not an accident. It's because of the funding of the organic community generated safety initiatives, the gang intervention and prevention workers, and community-based organizations.
Right. And, because of this, people are able to live peacefully. And I'll be honest, I was blown away. I was blown away to see Obama Boulevard. That was crazy for me. To see that was crazy. To see the Center for Black Power, to be in it, to even meet you, Melina, and everyone else. It was a great time. It was an experience that I'll never forget. And I can't wait till we do the next one. But I want to ask you, right, here's my next question. How did being biracial impact your mental health in school or social settings growing up? What was that like for you?
So I don't personally like the term biracial. I know a lot of people use it. A lot of people use it, and that's fine. They do what they want to. I don't use it because I believe there's one race, which is human. I don't accept the social construct of race, but I would say I'm bicultural, bi-ethnic.
So let's say bicultural.
So I understand the question. I'm just pointing that out because I think that when we create this category called biracial and we don't check off Black on the census, we do ourselves and our communities a disservice. I know that my mom is Italian. I don't have to check that off. I check off Black, and then my ethnicity is Italian and African American. My race, which is a made-up social construct, is Black.
Absolutely.
My nationality is American, because that's what my passport says. And my culture is California girl, Leimert Park, South Central, West Side.
Let's go.
All of the above. So, but as far as mental health, because having inter-ethnic or whatever you want to call it, mixed marriages or relationships was less common when I was a kid. It definitely did impact my mental health. I found that many situations, my mom being a poet, moved around a lot. And then when I'd see my dad, when I'd go there, that was a whole other environment. And so there's a sense, and I think it still happens with people of various backgrounds still, but it was more pronounced back then, is I felt like I didn't fit in anywhere. Like white people would tell me I was an N-word, and Black people would tell me, so she's so light, she thinks she's white, or they call me zebra, call me white girl, and all that kind of stuff. High yelling niggas can't dance, all that kind of stuff. Just all the stupid stuff. But as a little kid, for me, I felt like, well, I am not accepted by white people, and I am not accepted by Black people. And so that gave me a sense of isolation. I think it undermined my self-esteem. It made me feel like Tupac said, like it was me against the world sometimes. And that sometimes neither one of my parents understood that, nor did they really try to understand it. So I think that was a journey. And a lot of times now when I end up talking to people who have mixed heritage and helping them with that journey, because what I came to through, trial and error and tears and rejection and self-rejection and all of that, was that I am Black. I am politically, culturally Black. I do not say that to exclude my Italian ancestors. I'm proud of them. I make great lasagna. So ethnically, I'm Black and Italian. But politically, we're in America with the one drop rule. And so I remember having an argument with a friend of mine. She's a white woman, and she has a child by a Black man. And she doesn't want to call her child Black and doesn't want to raise her child as Black. And I tell her, take it from me, I lived what your kid is about to go through, and I'm not even a man. So you've got to give your child the tools to navigate the world as a Black person, because that's how the world is going to view them. You can say biracial or da-da-da-da-da. No, he's just as much white as he is Black. That's fine for you and your sentimental world. But when it comes to getting pulled over by the cops, that child is Black. And if you don't prepare to walk through this world as a Black person, you are setting them up to be murdered.
Yes, and they will experience so much. Listen, for me being as dark as I am, I experience problems with the cops all the time, my entire life, until I left Philadelphia. It's different down here in North Carolina where I live now because it's a small town and it's majority Black. But before then, I left at 30, I'll say 36. So all the way up until then, I experienced nothing but turmoil from the police. So you're absolutely right. And I have friends who are mixed as well, who experience the same issues. And I've watched them go through it. People tease them and they got treated differently because they were mixed. So my heart goes out to you for experiencing that, first of all.
I understand.
And I'm sorry that those kids were ignorant then and didn't know any better, because like you said, I agree with you, Black.
Well, and the thing about it is, I understand light skin privilege and all that. I'm not asking for your sympathy. I'm just answering the question. No. But I will say, because I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and he made a really good point, which is that we accept, as Black people, we accept making fun of people who are light-skinned or mixed. And we would never accept the same towards someone dark. Like you could say, you're acting real light-skinned right now, and everyone will laugh. But if I said you're acting real dark skinned right now, that would be a problem.
Right.
So I'm not saying that boohoo poor me. We all have our challenges in life. But what I am saying is that we as Black people need to look at different ways that we internalize colorism, and weaponize it against each other on both sides of the spectrum. Y'all not saying that stuff about, W.E.B. Du Bois or Minister Farrakhan, but now when you see some little kid, who, you think they're ethnically ambiguous, but they Black. If you really thought I was a white girl, you wouldn't be calling me white girl. So you're doing that because you want to shame me in some kind of way for my DNA. And so I think we need to stop. However, which way we're doing it, we need to stop weaponizing colorism against each other.
I agree with you 1000% there. And one thing that I've experienced in life, just like you said, I've experienced going through things being dark. And because of it, I had a tough time too. So, I was the butt of everybody's joke as a kid because I was the darkest kid in class. So, going through it, I got in a lot of fights and whatnot, but that's another story for another time.
But see, that's wrong too. People need to stop that. It's hurtful. I mean, you talk about mental health on this show. It's hurtful.
It is.
And I'm fine. You seem to be fine, but we worked it out. But I'm thinking
absolutely
about that have to deal with that. They're not prepared to deal with that.
Yeah. I think it takes a lot more of trying to find yourself and accepting who you are. Yeah. When you're small, when you're young, you really don't get it until you get older.
Right.
But, at the time, I was going through it, and people was making you so Black, you make the street cop cry and all of that. And, next thing you know, I'm in a fight with some kids in class, So it is what it is. But just kids being kids, as I see it now as an adult. All right, so here's my next question. All right. You attended 16 different schools, right?
Yeah.
Now, I know a thing or two about going to different schools. It wasn't 16 for me, it was 5. But did constant transitions affect your ability to trust relationships or stability?
I don't think so, because I think that was the norm for me. You know what I mean? I never got to one place for a long time. I think it gave me a sense of always being the outsider in a way. It's not that I didn't trust people, but I just got used to being the outsider. It served me well in radio and television because I'm used to talking to anybody from any walk of life, anywhere. Give me a microphone, let's go. But it wasn't so much of a trust issue because I knew why we were moving or why I had to move. My mom's a poet, same reason we're broke. we're going somewhere else now, or we're pulling you out of that school. It was various reasons. Sometimes we were moving. One time my mom decided to start a school. That didn't last long. Different things, various reasons. One time I asked to leave because the racism was too much.
Yeah.
Living out in the country in Marin County. So lots of different reasons that I moved around. But I think we do adapt to those conditions, psychologically for sure.
Kingdom Assigned says fire emojis. And she also says, amen. We are all in the same boat. Hashtag no more colorism.
Yes, please.
All right. So here's my next question. Did your parents openly talk about mental health with you or emotional expression?
Did my parents? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Did your parents talk about mental health or emotional expression in the house?
they didn't really talk about mental health, which is weird because they probably did benefits for mental health clinics and who knows. We didn't really talk about that. We did talk about emotional expression. They're both poets. And I think that they were both very clear about using the arts as a means of healing, as a means of expression, healing from a mental health standpoint. You know, whatever your wounds, your injuries, talk about it, write about it, put it in a play, put it in a song. And they were clear about using it as a means of political organizing and changing the narrative. So I guess we went to art and imagination. My mom didn't let us watch TV. We didn't have a TV in the house when I grew up. So my way of dealing with my mental health episode was run in my room and read, slam the door and read. And I just did a lot of reading. I think I got to get back to that when I get stressed out. Got all these books.
Yeah, that's a great construct to have, and it's something good to do. It's kind of like what I do as well. For me, I'm an artist. I rap, so I go and write something. You know, in today's time, we jot in the phone and write it down, but I pick the phone up and I get the writing when I'm a little stressed out. Or I just go straight to the booth. I'm in the booth now, but I'll turn the mic on and just get right to it, you know? It definitely relieves a lot of stress. So writing is definitely a good way to do that.
I mean, I think when we were grown, it may have come up more because some people had some challenges.
Right.
Notably, you know, my aunt was murdered and my dad's sister was murdered.
Wow.
My sister,
my aunt was murdered as well.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So in those situations, you have to deal with it to some extent. You know?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Aunt, that's
so
terrible.
What did you do in those moments? You know, like the moment with your aunt being murdered. What did you do to overcome that? Because that's a hell of an obstacle to, you know, overcome.
You know, I was really young. I can't say that I did anything constructive. I wandered around the city. I probably did some drinking. I've gotten more sophisticated as I've gotten older. Now I would pray and meditate and write in my journal and talk to my friends or even go seek some counseling. When my aunt was murdered, I was much younger and I was a lot more reckless.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it was only a few years ago. So my aunt was murdered because he was gay. And her wife's son did not like that. So he murdered her.
Wow, that's terrible.
So, yeah, you know, I miss her. Say again?
What was her name?
Christine. Christine Whitaker.
Christine Whitaker.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my aunt, from my aunt to your aunt, my aunt was also gay. Kumako Jones, or Sandra Lane Jones, as her Broadway star name was. And she was murdered by a man that she met at an AMCO convention who she was trying to help out. So, you know, those type of tragedies, they're going to definitely impact the mental health of an entire family. And I think more than one generation.
Yes. Yes, I agree there. It's definitely something that's going to stick for a long time. And, you know, a lot of my family, they are not over it, and rightfully so. But, you know, time with God, prayer, like you said, meditation, finding things, you know, to do, to not keep your mind on it so much. Therapy as well can help. You know, for me, I did years of therapy for a lot of the things that I went through. I told you a bit about my story.
Yeah, like you've been through quite a bit.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So let's talk about the first time Dee was on radio. Let's talk about that. How old were you? What was that experience like?
The first time, I don't even remember the first time I was on radio. That sounds bad. But because the first time I was on radio, I was on as a guest, not as a host. I was on, what was I doing? I was on KMEL in San Francisco, because I did TV before I did radio.
Uh-huh.
When I was in college, I auditioned for a television show and got it. It was Home Turf. And so I did that for my entire college career. And as I became sort of a local celebrity or whatever, I was invited to go on KMEL as a guest. So I used to go over there and just be on the mic with them, promoting my television show. I would be on with Theo and, Rennell and all these sort of hosts that went on to be kind of big shots. And it was because of those early experiences when I had my television show, and then I would feature them on my TV show, and they would feature me on their radio show. So it was a cross promotion that we did.
Right.
But it was always as a guest. It wasn't until I moved to LA that I was looking for a job, and I created this show called Street Science. It was supposed to be my next television show. My show was Home Turf. And I thought, well, Street Science will be more grown up, because I was very young when I did the TV. And
So-
it was still.
Before you tell us about Street Science, tell us a bit more about Home Turf.
Home Turf
What was the show about?
was the
How
bomb.
did you get into it at first? I'm interested to know this story.
Home Turf was amazing. There's this guy named John Fromer, may he rest in peace. He was actually an activist, a labor activist, a guitar player, and a television producer. And at the time, I was a freshman in college, and I was doing a play because I had this professor that talked me into. He asked me, would you rather write a paper or be in my play? I said, I'll pick the play. And it was political theater. So this producer saw me, asked me to come audition. I auditioned and I got the role. And I did that show for 8 years. That show was, I believe, like the first real hip hop television show. There may have been some others, but we were way before Yo MTV Raps, way before 106 in Park. And it was a combination of, it was youth culture. So we did hip hop, we did sports, we talked to young people, put them on the mic. I believe I did the first interview on television ever with Tupac, with Tony, with En Vogue, and early interviews with Run DMC, with LL Cool J, Jennifer Lopez back then when she was on In Living Color. So it was really a pioneering hip hop show, which I hosted. And Christina Metcalf was a producer. And it was one of the great things about it was that because these people were activists and they believed in elevating youth voices, they let me do a lot of writing, producing, and the whole station took me under their wing, and I was trained to be a producer, host, writer. And it was during that period that I won those 5 Emmy Awards.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. So what would you say doing that? What did it do for your confidence and voice in that moment? Winning Emmys. I believe you probably were in your 20s, correct?
Oh, it was 19 when I started, yeah. But I did that all through my 20s, yeah.
Yeah, so you're in your 20s, you're hot stuff, you're winning Emmys, you're doing your thing, you're on TV, you're on radio. Like, how did you handle that? Because I'm pretty sure there's a form of pressure, if you will, that comes from that. How did you handle that at such a young age? And who are your mentors that helped you along the way?
Well, I mean, for one thing, it happened gradually. It's not like, and it wasn't national. It was just in the Bay Area. So I always saw myself as wanting to be worldwide and national. So I didn't think I had made it yet. I didn't look at it that way. I was comparing myself to Langston Hughes and Lena Horne, somebody local. So I didn't feel like I had made it. And John Fromer really, he was the producer of that show. He was really careful the way that he worked with me so that I wouldn't lose perspective. I have a lot of friends that are hard on me still.
Yeah.
And, you know, and just, I don't know, I have really high standards. Like I still haven't accomplished anywhere near what I think I need to accomplish. And so I just, and I stayed in school. I was in college the whole time. Well, I did graduate, but I was in college for much of home turf. So I was doing all my classes on Tuesday, Thursdays, and shooting the show Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And all that keeps things in perspective.
So when you got your first Emmy, you felt like you just wanted more. You got the taste of the first Emmy. After getting that first Emmy, what was your initial response?
The first Emmy was a huge triumph because I was nominated and it was all news anchors in the category with me. So there's no way I was going to win. These are all big shots making millions. And I'm doing a little weekend show making hundreds. And I won. And you could hear a gasp in the room. And somebody said, who? My brother was there, one of my brothers. You would have thought it was a football game. He jumped up and started hollering like touchdown, you know, which was very embarrassing. But it was a huge victory because I felt like a little nobody, you know, it was a real David Goliath type moment. And after that, the Academy changed the rules so that you could not compete against news talent if you were not a news anchor. So that would never happen again.
Wow.
Because I was in programming, I wasn't news. But since I had beat out all these news people there, they decided this is not going to happen again. So I was proud about that. I felt like I made these jokers change the rules. They running from me.
So Emmy number 2. The rules are already changed. So how did number 2 come about?
Well, they had the programming category. That actually probably made it easier for me to win because I had less competition in the category. But again, I was proud because I won later. The first one I won was for talent, but then I won for writing and I won for producing. So it was a good feeling because I felt that it was an affirmation that I could have a career in this business. But, you know, I think big. And so I thought, well, these are local Emmys. I need a national Emmy. I don't have that yet.
Oh, so that's something to tackle.
That's how I
believe you'll get it.
You know, like, oh, okay, I got a radio show, but I need a syndicated radio show. Okay, I wrote a poem, but did I write like, you know, like Langston? You know what I mean? Did I write like Sonia Sanchez, or was it just a poem? Like, I guess you could say I'm a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And so I'm never satisfied. I never say like, oh, I'm the bomb. I'm like, okay, that was cool. Now what? What's next?
Yeah.
You better.
Okay. So I'm going to go off of my questionnaire for this one.
All right.
You know, I want a little, if you can, give me a little story time. Give us a bit of a story about a moment you had with either Steve Harvey or Stevie Wonder.
Oh, gosh, there's so many good ones for both of those. Okay, you'll appreciate this. I'll give you one of each. When I first started working at KJLH for Stevie Wonder, when I did the show Front Page, which was a show he already had that he wanted me to revamp. And it was a tough job. But when I first got on that show, and when I became the solo host of it, one day he called me up and he said, you know, I'm hearing through the grapevine that the show is moving a little bit to the right. And I thought that was the most hilarious thing ever. I never in my life thought I would have a boss that was concerned that I was too conservative. I laughed and I said, okay, well, I don't think so, but I'll get right on that, boss. And you know, I took it under consideration with everything I was doing. But just the fact that Stevie Wonder would listen And, you know, he might call you. He might call you on the warm line, you know, off the air and say, hey, you know, really great guest, or what, you know, did you think about asking them this, or we should have this person again? Like that he was so hands-on and so involved.
Really?
Was really, you know, a blessing. And so when he called me at home talking about, you know, I heard the show and you might be getting a little conservative. That was just one of the funniest things that ever happened to me. I've never been accused of that. I'm usually getting the opposite. You know, you're radical, blah, blah, blah.
So he thought she was a little bit extreme for a bit,
I thought I was a little too, going a little too soft on him. With Steve Harvey, there's a million stories, but one that people probably wouldn't expect from him, because, you know, Steve is a lot. You know, he's got fancy suits and he's, you know, he's Steve. You know, he's a lot. And so there's Steve memes and people talk a lot of stuff about Steve. But when I was first laid off from the Steve Harvey Morning Show, fired, laid off, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Two things happened that said something about Steve's character that people might not expect. First of all, I made a documentary film about the gang intervention prevention work. And I had it in the Pan-African Film Festival here in Los Angeles. And I called Steve and said, would you consider letting me come on the show, which I used to be a host on, but I was fired from, to promote my film? Now, anybody who knows radio knows that's pretty much an automatic no.
Right.
Your old station is not letting you get back on the air to promote jack that you're doing ever in life.
Right.
But Steve said yes. He had me on a show. I talked about my film, and my screening was more packed than any film at the film festival, to the point where the LA Times had to write a little blurb about it, and no one could understand who I was or why everybody wanted to see my movie. And so I just thought that was, it's a cool story because it shows a different side of Steve, which is, you know, he does have a heart. And I'm pretty sure that Kathy Hughes and them were not real happy. Put me back on the air.
I'm sure.
Just like, hell with it. Yeah, come on. And then I'm going to say it was about a year later when I got when Stevie called me, and I got, which is another whole story because I don't even know how he got my number. I didn't even know he knew who I was. But anyway, when he called me, and then I ended up working on the front page, the first week when I took over the mic by myself solo, Steve called in to the station, even though he was on a rival station, to congratulate me on the air.
Oh, that's awesome.
And just let people know, you know, I'm really proud of her. She's got her own show now. And yeah, that meant a lot to me.
That's awesome. You know, it's good to know that even though you separate and you go on to do different things, you still had the support. That's a great thing.
I haven't talked to him in a million years, but those were times when I asked him for something when normally you wouldn't expect someone to say yes, and he did. And it made a difference for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, like you said, in a lot of cases, sometimes people, they'll say no. You know, I actually kind of had a similar story, but it's kind of different. My former boss of Too Raw for Radio came on my show.
Okay.
So that was kind of cool. It was different, but it was cool. So you never know, you know. Here's my next question to you. All right. So did you ever feel like the entertainment industry ever tried to dim your light or force you to conform mentally or spiritually?
Constantly. That's all they do. They stay doing that. I mean, okay, so as a woman, as a Black woman, as a creative person, as a Gemini, as a politically conscious person, as a silly dork idiot who likes to sometimes go off on a tangent, all of those have been critiqued. You're too political. You're not political enough. You're too objective. You're not objective enough. You know, and I know, and this is going to sound bad, but I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just facts. I know that if I was a man, I would be much further in this industry. You know,
Right.
I have more experience than a lot of people that are big in this industry. And I know that experience isn't everything, but there are some times where if you're a woman, you're either in the room because someone's sleeping with you, or you're not, or they want to sleep with you, or you're not in the room because it creates a different dynamic. When it's the dudes going out to do a thing, they know it's about business, or they know it's about whatever, strippers or whatever they're doing. And so as a result, although I feel, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel that I can run circles around Charlemagne the God on the mic. I won't get the opportunities that a Charlemagne will get because I do not have a penis. And that is what it is. I don't feel bitter about it because I feel like I love my career. I love my job. And I love the fact that I've had autonomy, creative authority, the ability to make change and be true to my morals, ethics, and politics. So I'm not complaining. I'm very blessed. But when you talk about the industry dimming your light, I don't care who you are. They're going to try to dim your light. They're going to try to put you in your place, put you in check, make sure you know you ain't all that. And that's fine. But this is what I always say. You know, people take credit for your stuff. They try to diminish you. But I always say the streets know. The streets
That's right. That's right. I've only been in this industry a little minute now, right? But I have seen that there is a lot of sexism going on in here.
You haven't seen it.
Huh?
You haven't seen that.
Well, you said I haven't?
Yeah, I was asking if you were saying you haven't seen it.
No, I'm saying as long as I've been doing what I've been doing so far, I have seen it. And I think that people are misguided in that way because of the simple fact that I believe women are just as good as men when it comes to anything in this world that they put their mind to. And being married to an awesome woman who's a rock star, she's great in business, she's great in organizing, putting things together, great cook as well. I just want to throw that in there.
You're a blessed man.
Yes, I am. And I thank God every day for her. But I think women are very fierce in this industry, and y'all do a great job. And y'all should get the credit y'all deserve for it. Like, to me, you're a rock star.
Thank you.
You know, and there aren't a lot of women that get the credit that they deserve when they're the ones behind the scenes making these men look great. So I want to say I commend you for everything you do.
Thank you.
And we're going to talk about the next thing, which is KVLA and how you met Tavis Smiley and got to do this awesome show that you're doing now. So let's talk about that. Tell us how that started a bit, and tell the people a bit what the show is about for those that don't know.
Yeah. Oh, and I do want to say things have gotten better. I mean, they are getting better. We're making them better little by little. So I do morning drive, which is prime time in radio. You know that. Morning drive to 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific. Mm-hmm. And I met Tavis because I used to interview him when I worked for Stevie Wonder. He would come on KJLH on Front Page.
Yeah.
From time to time. I didn't really know him, but he would come on that show. And then he invited me to do one of his events, which was a great honor. And then when my father, Amiri Baraka, passed, I had asked Tavis to speak at a memorial. It was a tribute that I did for my dad, not really a memorial. And he did. And it was really because I knew that he knew him And that was a point of connection. But the funny thing is, here's the crazy thing. One time I had Tavis on my show. It's on my YouTube channel if you want to go look at it. It's DiPrima Radio, DiPrima, and then radio. I had Tavis on with Cornell West. And this was when Obama was president. And they were on their poverty tour criticizing Obama all across the country. And so we got into it, right? I mean, we were going at it on my show to the point where back then I was running my board. I was pulling down their mics and pulling up their mics, and they were yelling at me. It was wild. It's on my YouTube if you want to look at it. Anyway, it was a great show. People loved it, but it was very heated. And then several years later, here comes Tavis Smiley calling me, talking about, do you want to come work for me? I'm starting a talk radio station. And I just thought that was wild, because to me, a man that is secure enough to invite you to come and host his Anchor Morning Drive after you've been turning down his mic and fighting with him. That's a secure man right there.
Yeah. You know, he's a legend.
Yeah.
And people may not remember him because I talk about him all the time. And when I say, you don't know who Tavis Smiley is? And they go, I'm like, yo, y'all don't remember the late night show that used to come on BT? Like, he was on BT.
Yeah.
No, I remember. I'm like, yo, y'all didn't watch the news. Y'all was ignorant. It's all good.
But the thing about it is, I mean, I was on Stevie Wonder station doing my own show early morning. When Tavis called me, he offered me, speaking of, you know, women getting this glass ceiling and getting locked out, he offered me the opportunity to do morning drive solo on a commercial talk station, which no Black woman in LA has ever done. And I could not resist the opportunity to make history. I also believed in his vision of a Black talk radio station, which there's only 5 in the country, right?
Yeah.
Regular radio stations, what we call terrestrial, old-fashioned radio.
Right.
Only 5 of them. And one of them is owned by Tavis, and it's here in Los Angeles. So that was enough inspiration. Plus, you know, Tavis has, of course, got a great track record as a journalist. So I've been doing that. We just celebrated our 4th anniversary. The station continues to grow. And it's been a wild ride. It was one of those goals, you know, you talk about things you want to check off your list in terms of accomplishments in the field. And hosting a solo morning drive show is something that I had hoped I would get to do in my lifetime. Doing it on talk radio, on Black Talk, with Tavis has really been just amazing. And it's very much word of mouth, the hood grapevine, because we don't have marketing budgets that is making this station fly.
Oh, that's awesome. You know, I've been in the station. It's very beautiful, folks. So, you ever in LA, you want to know about a place that looks awesome and is awesome, KBLA is it.
Thank you.
Now, I want to say this as well. You know, I got to interview Dr. West 3 times during his run for the presidency. And he's like my childhood hero. I've been watching him since I was a youngin'. So to meet him and to interview him, my mom was blown by that. You know, but he's one of the greatest thinkers of our time. And to have these people on and to be around, you soak up so much game. So let me ask you, what is a great piece of advice that both of these people gave you, Tavis and Dr. West?
Well, Dr. West is just always super encouraging. He's one of the most encouraging people. I guess what he does, the advice he tells me is just to keep doing what I'm doing, you know, be fierce, be fearless, like don't back down, you know, as a woman who's in a space where there's not a lot of us. He's just been very, very encouraging, you know, and very much supportive of the activist work that I do and the radio work that I do, and just really kind of just going go, 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 go. Like that's what Dr. West does. Tavis, his advice, I guess, at the radio station has been do you. Like, I brought you here to help me stand up this startup radio station because people love you. So do you. And he has been very, very respectful about letting me have my own artistic and political voice, saying what I want to say. He doesn't try to influence me. Oh, you should take this position or that position. If we agree, we agree. If we don't, we don't. But he's been very, very respectful about allowing me to have my own voice. And so we talk about politics, art, relationship, and we have such different styles. Tavis is a Virgo. He's very precise. Everything is very planned out and very, very buttoned up. I'm a Gemini. We're building this plane while we're flying it. I'm over here talking while I Google stuff and, changing my mind about what we're going to talk about and flowing with my flow, freestyling on my mic. Yes, I do a lot of show prep. I do a lot of reading. I do a lot of planning in terms of where I might want to go or what my thoughts are on different things. But when it comes to go time, ain't no telling where I might go.
Ready. Right.
So he doesn't sweat that. He just, okay, that's how Dominique does it. That's been, really consistent with Tavis and his advice of do you. That's why I brought you here.
I'm kind of the same when it comes to that. I prepare, like once I learned about you, I went and looked at more stuff, and it's because I like to feel a sense of urgency when I interview someone, right? And once you sent me all your information, like I told you, I was blown away. Like, wow, I didn't even know I was sitting across. First of all, we was on a bus. We were right across from each other. I didn't even know. But I kept saying in my mind, like I told you, seen her before. I seen her before. And it's probably because the Steve Harvey show in the morning, because they used to tape as well. So I've probably seen you there. And it didn't resonate until now. And it's like, wow. And,
it could also have been Fox Soul. I did that Fox Soul TV for a couple of years.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. I know I seen you somewhere, but I just couldn't put my finger on it like, oh my God, I know I seen her. But it's awesome because we're a grassroots family as well.
Absolutely.
And I think that's awesome, and I'm very thankful to have a chapter. Dr. Molina brought me in, gave me a chapter for North Carolina. And I'm going to do some great things. I take it very seriously, and it's a badge of honor for me, So,
yeah, I think that's important. You're doing the work, and I commend you for that, really, because so many people want to sit around and complain or be scared and armchair quarterback, and you're out here doing the work. And that's why we say Black Lives Matter grassroots is Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. That's right.
The ones that are actually going to protest, helping families, forcing accountability from cops and elected officials. And that work is so important. And just because people don't know about it because it's not on CNN anymore, doesn't mean it's not happening. And it's happening because of people like you and your dedication. So, right. Thank you for the work you're doing.
You're very welcome. And I got some justice families coming on soon. So,
Excellent.
It's my pleasure to serve the people and highlight the stories that the media is afraid to cover. I'm not, and I got my boots on the ground. We out here.
I love that. Well, and the thing about it, justice families, for those who don't track, are families who've had their loved ones killed.
That's right.
Gravely harmed by law enforcement, by state-sanctioned violence. In some cases, like in Buffalo, it might be a white supremacist, but typically state-sanctioned violence. And a lot of those families have now gone on to become activists in their own right?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's powerful.
And they're going to fight the good fight too. And that's what it's about, I think people need to understand that, when we're out here doing what we're doing, It's not for ourselves, because people look at things like this like, oh, you're just trying to get known. No, this isn't about us. This is about we. This is about helping people. This is about highlighting what needs to get highlighted so that people can understand that these people were done wrong and something needs to get done about it. And that's where I'm at with it, you know. So from the bottom of my heart, I'm going to do everything I can in my power and in my being to highlight everything that they try to hide. My journalism is just beginning. I'm only 2 years in almost, but I'm ready.
Congrats. 2 years is, you know, that's a milestone. You made it 2 years.
Yeah, I'm almost there. I got a few more months before December will be 2 years completely, December 3rd. But I'm almost there. All right, so here's my next question. All right. Let's talk about community for a second. Radio is intimate. How did hosting shows like Street Science and The Front Page affect your mental health? Hearing people's trauma every day. What was it like to share those, to help people share their stories?
Well, the Front Page was really hard on my mental health, to be honest, because I took over a show that belonged to someone else, and there was a lot of resentment about it, as if I had hired myself and fired those people.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were a lot of attacks on me in the beginning, and you know, some of them were race-based, some of them were gender-based. So that was a struggle. That was the hardest challenge I think I've ever overcome in my life. But when you talk about people's stories, once we break through that and I make the show my own, there is a trust there. You know, there's a bond there where you know your audience. Some of them you actually know because they call you all the time, and some of them you just know because you know where they're at, where they're from, their vibe.
Yeah.
And it was during the Front Page that I started to meditate every day. I think that because of things that were going on in my personal life, combined with the stress of taking over that show, combined with my empathy for people and their struggles, their stories. I have people calling me who are living in their cars and have nowhere to go, who have experienced sexual trauma, who have had their children taken from them because they were incarcerated or were having mental health issues. All of these stories, they hurt my heart. I am very empathetic. I love people. The meditation helped me. And then, you know, with all the stress, sometimes I used to be more hard on my listeners. Sometimes I'll go off on them. I really do that now. It happens sometimes though. But I think that centering mental health through meditation really made a difference. I also read a lot of self-help books, and I do all the little exercises and stuff like that. I'm always working on myself because I think it's like cleaning your house. You can't just do it once and think it's going to stay clean forever.
That's a fact.
That's not how it works. You have to sweep the floor all the time. So that's how I look at mental health. With Street Science, when I first came to LA, you know, I didn't understand LA culture. Street Science was my first show there. First year, I got a bunch of death threats. That definitely impacted my mental health. But then I remember one example. I did a show on domestic violence, and I had these young women on. And one of the girls told me that if the man doesn't beat you, he doesn't love you. He doesn't care.
Wow.
And that's
a coward in my eyes.
That was years ago, and I'm still thinking about that person.
Yeah.
And so that gave me a renewed commitment to educating people and making sure a girl doesn't have to say that or feel that way. Another moment like that is when this young unhoused kid was on my show, and he told me when I'm in Hollywood panhandling or whatever I'm doing, and I speak to someone and they don't speak back to me, they walk by me like I was just a wall or a piece of trash, it makes me want to go around the corner and mug them. Because it's so disrespectful of my humanity. And when he said that, it just hit me. It just hit me. Like, imagine people walking by you all day long and acting like you don't exist.
Yeah, they're human people too.
And you're
so I try to help them as much as possible.
Right. And so that also, those are those moments that move me. I said, okay, I'm never doing that again. And that's not how I'm going to deal with homelessness on my show. I will never walk by a person like they're a piece of garbage or a door or, a car. You
never know what they went through that got them where they are.
And we must recognize people's humanity.
That's right. And random acts of kindness could give them the spark to want to change and get up off their butt and do something about it. You never know. You can be the driving force or changing force into them beginning their path to change their life.
Of course, yeah, we're in such a crisis now with houselessness in this country. And a lot of folks are, dealing with health issues, mental health issues, drug issues, all of these things. So now if you're going to do a random act of kindness, you want to be scientific about it. Make sure you're doing it in a way that doesn't harm the person or make things worse.
Yeah, I agree with you there 1,000%. So let me ask you, you ever have a moment on air where the topic got too heavy mentally or emotionally, and how did you push through it? Give me some advice on that, because I've had a few.
You know what? I'm going to say no, because when I get on the mic, I'm in a zone, right? I'm shy in real life. I don't go around, hey, what's your name? But when the mic goes on, it's a different persona. You know how Beyonce talks about Sasha Fierce? I have a Sasha Fierce. That's my microphone, Dominique. And my dad used to be that way too. Around the house, he'd be talking real quiet like this. Then he'd get on the mic, revolution, and blah, 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 blah. So I just switch. Now, I'm not saying I don't get moved or even have my feelings hurt, but I think I stay in the place of, so if there was a tip, it would be this. I stay in the place of trying to make the other person feel comfortable.
Right.
Worrying about them and listening to them. If I'm thinking about myself, then I can get overwhelmed, overcome, self-conscious, and all those things. So my secret is, it's my job. I don't care if you're the King of England or Jay-Z or, an unhoused person that I just met 5 minutes ago. I'm the host. It's my job to make you feel comfortable.
That's right.
And as long as I'm focused on that, I won't get overwhelmed.
That's right.
I did have a fight break out a couple times. And when that happens, my advice is go to commercial.
Speaking of which, we're going to take a minute or two real quick, folks. And we're going to go to commercial and get a chance to get some water, because we've been talking a bit. So sit back for a second, y'all, and check the commercial from our sponsor.
Introducing the all-new, all-natural Wrap Patch. The smoking bandage for broken, stale, cracked, torn cigars, cones, cigarettes, slaps, you name it. Here we have a stale cigar with 2 holes in it. We're going to take our brown paper wrap patches and we're going to tear it in half because a little goes a long way. You lick the shiny adhesive side of the wrap and then you apply it to the damaged area, smoothing it over as you go, like you see me doing here, to get all the air bubbles out and to make it a complete airtight seal. We're going to take our other side of our wrap patch and do the exact same thing with the other hole. These are our brown papers. And now we have a completely new fixed cigar. No need to throw it out, no wasting money. Now we have the same cigar, completely broken in half. And these are our white colored papers. As you see, the shiny adhesive side is the side that you lick. Hold your piece of your damaged smoking vessels together. Apply the wrap patch, and it doesn't even have to be perfect. These are how well and how good the wrap patches adhere. Smooth it around. You can add heat to speed up the drying process. But like we have here, a completely fixed, airtight seal cigar. Odorless, tasteless. It's a game changer, y'all. Get yours now. TheWrapPatch.com. Patent pending.
Chaz Jackson has been incarcerated since 2014 for a crime he did not commit. He was falsely arrested and later wrongfully convicted on human trafficking charges, despite Anaheim PD Detective Paul Delgado admitting he had no probable cause or warrant for Chaz's arrest. Shockingly, Chaz's case was dismissed twice before being improperly filed a third time, an outright violation of California's 2-dismissal rule. In August 2024, Chaz's new defense team filed a motion under California's Racial Justice Act, uncovering blatant racial discrimination embedded in his trial. From law enforcement officers to court officials, disturbing racial biases were exposed in the prosecution's narrative. Anaheim Detective Paul Delgado and Lieutenant Craig Friesen perpetuated stereotypes and biased assumptions about black men being predisposed to criminal behavior, with Friesen testifying to the jury, "I don't mean to racially categorize, but the pimps, the people involved, are generally black." Language like this directly links Chaz's conviction to his race, not evidence. Perhaps the most shocking instance was during jury selection when Judge Stephen Bromberg told the jury that Chaz, as an quote-unquote African-American and black, was probably the defendant, a blatant display of racial bias made directly in front of the jury. Chaz's conviction is not just a wrongful conviction, it's a case study in racial injustice. He was sentenced to 99 years to life at only 26-year-old based on bias, not on justice or evidence. Please join me in demanding justice for Chaz Jackson. We call on Orange County Superior Court Judge Richard M. King, California Attorney General Rob Bonta, Orange County District Attorney Todd Spitzer, and Deputy District Attorney Holly M. Wasner to recognize the undeniable facts of Chaz's case and deliver true justice. His conviction must be vacated and his case dismissed with prejudice under the Racial Justice Act. Sign the petition to support Chaz, linked in bio, in his fight for freedom and to end racial injustice in our legal system. Together we can make a difference.
All right, we are back, y'all. Welcome back. I have my guest, Dominique DiPrima here. Oh, let me get back. There we go. We are here, and she is here, and we just chopping it up, y'all. We're having a good time, having a conversation. Mental health, as always. Welcome for those that are just tuning in. For those that don't know, this is the show that talks about the struggles artists, businessmen and women, activists and more go through while having to entertain the world or pursuing their career. I am your host, Tigmatic, and we're here. As always, this show is brought to you by Hollywood radio, Hollywood music, Hollywood TV, dollar radio, going in radio, and yours truly. DamaniBrand.com and NorShadeDemore.com. All right. So we're back with the icon, the legend right here. All right. So let me ask you this. How does music or spoken word still help your process as far as grief, pain, or joy?
Music is everything for me, for all of those. Grief, pain, joy, creativity, anger. I've been really back to leaning on music more, especially new music now. But it just helps me express myself. I mean, usually what I'll do is I'll put on music and go for a walk or run. I'll go hit the gym and lift some weights. But even when I'm writing or doing my show prep, if I'm not watching news, I like to lean on music. It enables me, it allows me to work harder. It allows me to get in touch with my feelings. Sometimes, I need to put on a song so I can get that cry out that I needed to have. So I love music for that. Spoken word for me, that's more of me enriching myself. Like when I'm listening to spoken word, it's more for inspiration and creative imagination. And also, just to hear different political points of view.
Yeah. Okay.
Do I get to ask a question? Sure. Okay, so you shared with me that off the air that you were the victim of being shot.
Yes.
And to the head.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a younger brother who experienced the same thing. And I'm just wondering, how do you think it changed you? Did it change you in terms of your personality, how you view the world, your mental health, kind of?
That's a great question. And you know what? I've been asked this off the air all the time, right? And to know the answer to that question, I would have to give a little background about who I was before getting shot, right? So before getting shot, I wouldn't say a full-blown street guy, but I was kind of sort of like in between, because I was the type of guy that worked, but still was in the street too. Mm-hmm. So at that point in time in my life, right, I wasn't really in the street like that. I was just basically in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? So when I got shot, it definitely changed me. I had anger issues in the beginning, like I told you. I was diagnosed with PTSD because someone tried to kill me, and that's something hard to deal with within itself, right? Excuse me. So early on, when I went through this, I was having nightmares, flashbacks, and even outside in the street, I was so angry at the fact that happened to me, that anybody looked at me wrong. I was on go, to be honest. And for me, it took years of therapy. It took therapy because the first few years of me going, I wouldn't open up. I was afraid to be vulnerable. And it was hard for me. It was very, very hard for me because during that time, I was a different type of guy. I had just got married, and life was going good, but then I kind of messed it up by being in this area where they going to war at, and I get shot, right? So that's a lot on my wife. My son was just being born, and so yeah, it was definitely a hard time for me. So personally, it changed me in a way where I had a lot of anger and resentment because I lost a piece of my brain. I lost a piece of my brain the size of a golf ball because of this. So,
whoa, that's a big piece of your brain.
Yeah and no, according to the neurologist. And it's the side that I got hit. It's the side that I got hit, really. Because I got hit on the right side, we use the majority of our left side of our brain. So, I'm lucky. It didn't affect the side that I needed, as you can see. You've seen me. I can walk, I can talk, I could play ball. I could do a lot that people that have this same injury, they're like vegetables. They need help all the time. So for me, I flew all the way to another side of the country by myself. So I'm thankful to God for that. It did have a lasting impact, though. It made me feel like I couldn't trust people at first. Um, I really had bad trust issues in the beginning. So yeah, it changed me in a way where I couldn't trust people. I was afraid to be vulnerable. I used to be angry at first, and until I got into therapy and started to pray and do church and things like that. And that's when the change and the transition for me started to happen. And it was when I left Philadelphia, life was more peaceful because Philadelphia's a crazy place to begin with. So living in North Carolina, where it's not as fast, it's not as busy, and it's a whole lot more quiet and more peaceful, it's something that I needed. And I feel like God sat me down to change my whole train of thought. And I'm thankful for that because, that's when I found radio. I found my voice. And I already was an artist, a rap artist, right? And you know how it goes when you're rapping with a purpose. You're rapping to hopefully get on, And I was this close because before I left, I was supposed to do a show with Harvey Leacock, the senator, with Stevie Wonder and Lil Wayne. So it was like, yo, it's either you gonna go because you still kind of tripping. Because I'll be honest, when I first was going through what I went through, I still wasn't listening. I still was a hothead, so I still was out here in the streets a little bit. And my wife was like, "Look, it's time for a change. Like, you changing or what?" And I was like, "All right, I'm changing." And that's how that went. So, you know, I look at it like in life we have choices. And if you really care about people, the people you say you care about, you make the choice to make the right choice. I'll say that. You make the right choice and change. And I did that. So to answer your question, I hope that answers your question to the
Absolutely.
best of,
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it helped me in a lot of ways. I had a lot of support, the therapy, my in-laws, they were a big support for me, and finding my voice on radio helped me a whole lot. So, yeah. All right. That was a good question. People don't really ask me that often, but I'm glad that I got to explain it and share it because I really don't share that often.
I mean, I've watched my brother, his personality definitely changed.
Yeah.
He had to fight his way back to, just like you, to be able to speak and everything. It seems like rapping really helped.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, so I'm just curious. I was curious, and it's interesting because it seems like it's really a fight. Even though you didn't physically get murdered, you had.
I died on the operating table. So that's another part of it. I should have told you that, but yeah, I died on the operating table, and I think that's why I had a lot of anger issues early on, knowing that I died, and that was hard to deal with too. And everything my wife went through because of that. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little emotional for me. But like you said,
I'm glad you guys stayed together and worked through it. I mean, that's powerful.
Yeah, she's my rock. She's my rock. She's my everything. And she's my biggest supporter. I'm her biggest supporter. And we just push through this thing called life. I'm thankful to God for her every day. And one thing that I've realized, like you said, if I didn't have something to help me cope along the way, I probably would have been a depressed person. And music was my outlet. So I would just go through the wire when I'm stressed. Whenever I'm stressed or feeling some type of way, I'd go right in the booth, let it out. And that helped me, you know, because I still wasn't opening up to the therapist. And then once I started to open up to the therapist, then she gave me tools and it was like, you got homework. And I'm like, oh, you know, so once I started to do the work, that's when the change happened and the process began and life became a whole lot easier. So I'm thankful to God for that, you know.
Great. It's great to hear.
Yeah. All right. So, ever have a moment on air where the topic got too heavy?
Well, you know that what I was talking about, people fighting. One time I had this guy, David Horowitz, he's a right-wing activist. He was on my show in the studio, and there was a professor from Loyola Marymount on, and we were talking about race and racism. And the guy Horowitz, who's this, you know, right-wing little short Jewish guy, jumps up from his chair and attacks this Latino professor from Loyola Marymount and started fighting with him in the studio. And I, like I said, I was joking, but not joking. I did go to commercial. I actually had to have security take the guy out because he would not stop attacking the other guy. And then we had to finish the rest of the show with just the professor, because this man was socking the other guy in the head. So,
oh wow,
that was a little too intense. And you know, the only other time I had to toss a commercial like that was when Eazy-E was on my show. Okay, so this will take you back to Street Science days.
Wow.
On my show, he used to come on my show frequently. We were friends. And he started talking about the death row and the contracts that those guys had, that Daz and Kurupt had. And then Daz and Kurupt called in on the show and started yelling at Eric. And he started yelling back at them. They were fighting about record deals. And so I did go to a commercial that time. They were cussing, even though Daz and Kurupt were on the phone, so it wouldn't have been an actual fight. Definitely FCC fines were possible because there was a lot of cussing going on. So we just went to commercial. And there were other repercussions that happened that I'm not going to talk about here.
I can imagine.
I live to tell the tale. Let me put it that way.
That's dope, though. So you were one of the first to interview Tupac. What was that like? What was Tupac like? You know, he's a legendary figure, especially on the West Coast, but the world, period. But on the West Coast, he's king still, even in death. So what was that like?
So I knew, I'm from the Bay Area, so I knew him from the Bay Area. He was part of the Digital Underground crew when I knew him. And I had met him around them. And so, you know, I just always found him to be creative, funny, a little wild, a lot wild. And, you know, I respected his talent tremendously. You know, it's funny because when he put me on that To Live and Die in LA clip, you know, he took it off the radio. He didn't tell me. He told me he had something for me, but he didn't tell me he was doing that. He took a piece of my radio show and put it on as like a skit on the Machiavelli album.
Yeah.
And I didn't find out about it.
So wait, that was you?
Huh?
You know what I'm saying? That was you in the skit.
Yeah, Street Science, you're on the air. You know, I mess with your wife and not in those words. That was me. That was me interviewing Digital Underground on my show. And Pac took it off the radio. He didn't tell me. He didn't ask the radio. We didn't find out until the CD shipped. And my program director calls me into the office talking about, You're on Pac's album. Like, what? And it was dope the way he did it, because he chose it, put it there, shipped it out, pressed it, shipped it, and no one knew. And so I ended up getting paid for that from Death Row. Now, had they asked for permission, I probably wouldn't have gotten anything. But since Pac decided to press the entire CD and ship it to stores, this is before streaming.
Yeah. Physical copies, folks, for the youngins watching. CDs, physical copies.
It's too expensive, to redo whatever. So they cut me a check.
That's
and I
awesome.
know he did that on purpose, because he was looking out for me. And, it's, of all the people that I've interviewed, I've talked to so many people over the years. There's just a small handful that have actually tried to help me in this business, in this world. And Pac is one of those.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Brenda's Got a Baby is one of my favorite Pac songs. And Wonder Why They Call You. That was a crazy one. Also, Machiavelli was a crazy one.
Hey, fun To Live and Die in LA. And what about
To Live and Die in LA was good. California Love, of course.
Classic. But
Yeah.
why, what they never play is White Man's World. You don't hear that song played.
Yeah, that was a banger too. I remember that.
They play it, I wonder.
We showing our age a little bit, y'all, but it's all good.
Guess what? Only in consciousness, not in physical appearance. Yeah,
all right.
I'm not mad at that. It's what Tavis calls chronologically gifted.
That's right. All right. So, how has the emotional toll of racial injustice changed the way you engage with your own mental wellness?
Well, I think for me, I have to process that rage, the anger, the grief and despair. And so journaling, meditation. I've recently taken up yoga about 4 months ago, but I've always worked out. I'm a health enthusiast. When Geronimo Pratt, Geronimo G. Jaga, the former Minister of Defense for the Black Panther Party, got out of prison, he came on my show for Stop, because we had talked to him when he was on the inside and we had established a relationship. So he came to my show, Street Science. And I remember he was so loving and full of joy and just had such a great attitude after 27 years in prison for being set up for something he did not do. And much of that time was spent in solitary confinement.
Yeah.
And I asked him, how are you able to be so positive and exude this light? And he told me, I work out every single day. Tai Chi, sit-ups, push-ups, meditation, breath work. And I was like, yay, I work out, 5 days a week or whatever I said. And he said, nah, sister, every single day.
Yeah, 7 days a week.
Yeah. And so to me, that's the inspiration. If this man can spend 27 years in prison, much of it in solitary confinement, because he's fighting for the liberation of our people, and he can keep himself from being bitter and broke down, then all of us, the rest of us, have no excuse. We have to do the work, whether it's getting therapy, journaling, doing yoga, doing breath work, working out, eating healthy, drinking the water, listening to music, doing the things that we know help us feel and live better. We know what they are. We have to parent ourselves.
That's right. That's right. Taking care of yourself physically and mentally goes hand in hand. Eat healthy, exercise, and I'm going to say this, I've gained some weight, but now I'm getting back into my exercise bag. I was a skinny guy at once. Living in the South slowed me down a whole lot. you know.
Yeah, I remember when I was traveling in the South, everywhere I went, they were trying to get me to put on a few pounds. So
Yeah, it happens when you move down south.
So I could get me a man.
Yeah, it happens. It happened to me. I was skinny as a rail when I left Philly.
Yeah.
But I'll still dunk on somebody. Don't get it twisted, folks. All right. Okay. All right. What's your vision for Black media and wellness in the next 5 years? What that plan look like?
I would like to see more ownership. I know it's going to be tough because Brendan Carr, who's the new head of the Federal Communications Commission under the Trump administration, has sworn to rid radio of DEI, which radio does not have. The only DEI I know of in radio is that sometimes you can get the cost reduced for Nielsen ratings if you can prove you're a Black owned. But other than that, there's no DEI in radio. White people own everything. Conservatives own everything. But so my vision is more ownership, because that is the means of distribution other than social media, podcasting and such. And as far as well-being, I think when we own more outlets, when we own more of our ability to distribute our content, then we will bring forth content that is better for our mental health, right?
That's right.
Content that portrays us in a more honest, three-dimensional and constructive way, focuses on well-being. And the many, there's so many of us that do practice yoga and Tai Chi and eat healthy and, get counseling and do sound baths and whatever we need to do to be right and be well and heal ourselves. And that's not what's presented in media for the most part. So I think this idea of ownership will allow us to present more images and stories that support our well-being.
Yes, and we need that, This is why I took a different approach to media, because to be honest, every other podcast that I see is either gender war or something ratchet. And we are so much more than that.
Yeah.
We are so much more than that. So, I took a different approach because not only just because mental health is near and dear to me, but also because I want people to see how talented we are, no matter what it is, whether it's journalism, activism, music, art. I've had artists on the show, all different types of people, and not just music artists, painters, directors, filmmakers, everything. So that's what I care about, sharing our stories and letting the media expand to a place where people can see us all the time. And it's full totality, unapologetically Black. So, okay. So here's my next question. How do you stay inspired even when the news is heavy?
Lately, I have come up with a little saying for myself. So I say it on the air. It says, fearless is the way forward. Fearless is the way forward, because with the second Trump administration, the rise of fascism in Europe and other countries around the world, still rebounding from the trauma of COVID and the pandemic.
Yes.
Many people are discouraged. They're in crisis. They're fearful. And for me, the balance, and I'm sure you know this, we got to report the facts. We got to let people know what you're up against, the objective conditions, the obstacles. But I don't want to be part of the epidemic of fear, where we tell stories and we say news and we make people scared, and then they make decisions that are not in their best interest because they're reacting to fear.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that going on.
way too much. That's epidemic. So that's why every day on my show, I said, we're going to start making a pledge of courage, a pledge of fearlessness, that no matter what news we're faced with today, no matter what story saddens us, we are going to choose fearlessness and courage. And I think being intentional about that is part of it. We know that courage is contagious. And so I spread it around. And when I plug into that energy, I plug into the energy of Ida B. Wells, one of my heroes, who had her newspaper burned down by the KKK, and all she did was buy a pistol and put up another newspaper.
That's right.
We have plenty of examples of fearlessness.
That's right.
You know, from Frederick Douglass to Rosa Parks to Martin Luther King. We have tons. I mean, shoot, Dr. Melina Abdullah. We have tons.
Absolutely.
So we can draw on the strength, the courage, the examples of others, the progress it's brought for us. That's what works for me. And also, to your point, music. You know, you get yourself pumped up with music, you can do anything.
That's right. So we got 5 minutes left and 4 minutes left. So real quick, how did you and Dr. Abdullah meet?
Gosh, I can't even remember. We're both from Oakland. I know that. Well, she's from Oakland. I'm from San Francisco, but it's Bay Area. I know she watched me on TV. I know that. I know she went to school with my brother. I think we connected in activism. I'm pretty sure I was at, even before Black Lives Matter, I saw her in activism. And then once Black Lives Matter started, she would come on my show on KJLH on Stevie Wonder's station. And of course, when KBLA started, Tavis Smiley asked me would I help convince her to come on KBLA. So I must admit, I accepted that assignment.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, our fearless leader is definitely one of those ones. She is not afraid to speak her mind and say the truth to the people. So when I met her, it was definitely a great opportunity. When she asked me to, you know, start a chapter down here, I was happy to do so. And
yeah, protect that woman at all costs.
Oh yeah, for sure. Protect her at all costs, for sure.
But because activism is not meant to be convenient or comfortable. If you don't like it, think about why you don't like it, and think about what we can do about it.
You know, and the best thing to do is to make these people feel uncomfortable so that the real change can happen. And that's what it's about, making people, these white folks, feel uncomfortable about the way that they're doing out here so that something can happen for our people out here. So last and final question.
And I say evildoers because I know that we have white allies and
oh yeah, for sure,
Latino allies. Evildoers, whatever their ethnicity is.
Yeah, they down with us. So you know, I wasn't talking about them. I'm talking about those. Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna say what you say. Evildoers. I like that. So the evildoers. But yeah, you know, it's all about making sure that our people are safe and secure out here, and injustice is fought the right way, and we get some equality out here. So it's all about action. And the real action is putting your boots on the ground, helping create policy, and doing some things to create change out here. And I'm all for it. I'm actually working on a little policy myself right now.
Nice.
You know, I'm more than just a podcast. I'm a smart one out here. So I got some tricks up my sleeve. But one last question before we get up out of here. Okay, I'm gonna give you the solo cam for Didi. All right. What would you say to the younger version of yourself who felt overwhelmed or displaced?
I would say to the younger version of myself who felt overwhelmed and displaced that this sounds cheesy, but you got this. You have everything. You have everything you need to overcome that. And you got to learn to do what I now call free falling in God's arms.
That's
Just
right.
falling in God's arms.
Amen. Oh, man, this was awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. And you're a rock star. I want to say that. You're a rock star. This was a delight. I really enjoyed this conversation with you. And I hope to do it again soon. You come on my other show, Stirring the Pot. That one, we actually get more breaks in that one because I play music videos in between.
Okay, all right. Hardest working man in show business.
I appreciate it.
Tigmatic, and congratulations on your 2 years and all your success.
Thank you so much. Congratulations on all your success. Hold on. Kingdom of Signs says, what a great episode of honesty. Why, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate those words. Thank you for being such a faithful supporter, and you're always watching. All right. So, any last words you want to say yourself? You want to tell people where to find your show and anything else you got going on?
Absolutely. I'm at DiPrima Radio, DiPrima, and then radio. I'm mostly on Instagram, but I do have a YouTube channel. And I'm on TikTok now. So find me. I'm on Facebook. Find me. Talk to me. My show streams on YouTube every day at KBLA 1580 from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Pacific time. And talk to me on or off the air. I'd love to talk to you, chop it up, argue. And it's been a pleasure chopping it up with you, Tigmatic. Much continued success to you.
Thank you so much. All right. Well, stay on the line, and I'm going to end out the show with the folks real quick. All right?
Okay.
All right. All right. Folks, my guest was here. She's a rock star. She's an icon, and she's one of those ones. Y'all know I say that all the time when it's one of those ones. But she's one of those ones. And listen, I hope you got something out of this today. I really enjoyed this conversation. And we just going to keep it moving and booming. Black Lives Matter's grassroots is Black Lives Matter. I want y'all to know that. Hey, listen, once again, this episode was brought to you by Hollywood TV, Hollywood Radio, Hollywood Music, Dollar Radio, and Going In Radio. Our sponsors, special shout out to DominiqueBrand.com. Go in there and get some clothes, some sneaks, some heels, some shoes, whatever you want. North Shade the Mortar Boutique. They got the same for women, women's clothing, all sizes, all shapes, everything you need. Not just that, though. They got accessories, too. Makeup, whatever. Go on there and grab, y'all. But once again, it's your boy Tigmatic, and we out of here, folks. Peace.
What's up, y'all? Tune into the Pop Podcast with Tig Radio.
For the Pop Podcast with your boy Tigmatic. Interview.
Pop Podcast, Stirring the Pot.
So tune into the Pop Podcast with Tigmatic on Hollywood TV.
Tune in to the Pop Podcast, my boy Tigmatic.
And Going In Radio. You might get some good music and some knowledge.
Break down! Power! 51 shots. Break down! Power! Next thing will be bigger than that. Yeah! 2 times. Break down! Where we at? Outside! Where we at?